Friday, August 23rd at 5:30 a.m. And we got Andy here, and this is the week before the DevCon. So if you haven't signed up, you may miss it.
I think there is at least 1 or 2 openings that someone could squeeze you in.
Yeah, at least.
Mm-hmm. We're actually going to have a good crowd there. We're going to have a good crowd there. We've already got as many as we had last year. I think maybe a little bit more, but we're going to have a good crowd there.
They're going there for the barbecue, man.
Oh, yeah, including the 4 vegetarians.
Ooh,
actually, it's 3 vegetarians and 1 vegan.
So Andy's going to talk about web services, some SOAP, and some mobile.
We're just going to talk about total communications between devices for a little bit, as well as you get a quick peek at the chat that you see in front of us. Pete and I are currently going back and forth on it. We are chatting back and forth, and we just had a little deal with Stephen in Australia. He can see our messages. For some reason, he can't type back. I think it's his underneath the WeEquator machine, but we'll figure out what's going on there with that. But as you can see, Pete and I are chatting, and this is the new chat room and stuff with it, and you can get into multiple chat rooms. As you can see, I can have multiple chat rooms, so we can have all kinds of chat rooms doing different things without an issue. And it's actually working pretty fast, because the one to Stephen, which is I would expect to be the longest one, actually only took a little over a second and a half to get to him, which is not any different than what we do now with the current Skype. So we're going to be in pretty good shape. Okay? We're going to be in pretty good shape here. Kind of happy about this, because part of the deal about moving forward with the chat room and things like that is to be able to use it not only just for support, news groups, doing all kinds of things like that, but but also to use it for many other things in applications, because I plan on pulling it out and putting it as part of my CCS feedback module, so that way you can actually have feedback directly to support people, in your application if you wanted to, which is pretty nice. And I'm going to be working on that. Replication, as far as this is concerned, I have tested it. I do get a few things. It's going to take some more work, because it was kind of thrown together a little bit. It does do what I wanted it to do conceptually. I think it needs some more debugging, but it works. So Steve and I already talked, and Ben Rebens and I are talking, and what we're going to do is we're going to set up a hyperfile client server in South Africa and Australia, and all of the news group messages, these here, when we get into these areas here, will all be based upon your local area. They will be replicated to your local area. If we get big enough and nice enough, and we might be able to get PC Soft to host one hyperfile as well. We'll see what happens for the European area. If not, Wolfgang will do it. I know Wolfgang will do it. And he's not in here, so I know he volunteered. So moving forward, part of the things that we've gone through is a little bit of communication issues in dealing with this. Utilizing the last time we talked about web services and getting back and forth data, one of the things that we were doing, you were noticing that I was using nothing but serialization to get back and forth data. And that's even if it was one record or it was many records. Now, since then, with the suggestion of getting a couple things from the PC Soft crew saying I could use the stuff, I could actually get the information directly. I kept trying to work with that and try to figure out what they meant. Obviously, there is not a tremendous amount of documentation at this moment for it. What there is a lot of trial and error, basically. But what I did was I built a set of procedures. These global procedures is what is published as far as your web service is concerned. This is how you actually get information from your web service, is through these public procedures. Everything else is done via classes in the background. So what happens here is you can see I'm passing a structure to this particular web service, which is called ChatRoomRec, and we're going to go take a look at it right now. When you declare these things, these are what you have as types. And let me show you we're going to show you a little bit of both here, so because you can kind of look at either one. When you open up a web service, you can see all of these types here. Chat message fetch, rec, chat room rec. You can see this chat room rec. What that is exactly, and I'll put this over here. We're going to try to put that right there so we can see it on both screens. And we'll minimize this over here. Okay. Got to turn off my news, didn't I? Let's go down and find that. Library. I know you're in here. There it is, chat room rec. You see, I declared a chat room rec as structure. That is what you're seeing here when you import the web service. When you generate the web service, this type here matches the structure you have here. Okay, and this is all done in the project code area, your global project code area. So you define every one of these here is what you do. Okay, and what that does then is it gives you a layout that when it publishes it, it allows you to have the type when you import your web service. Okay, now back to using that. When I pass the data to that particular function, or I do something to that area, I have to declare that I'm passing that structure. So I'm saying my argument for my CRUD record is now my chat room, and I'm going to send the action type. Declare that, and it says, well, what's my action type? I either got add, change, delete, or refresh. That's all I'm doing, add, change, delete, or refresh. If you notice that I've got a return rec is my chat room rec. So I declared my structure again as a returning record structure. When I'm done, I am either saving the record however it needs to be saved, and I am taking the current record and applying it to the return record structure. Okay. Now, that REC is actually a class. Okay. Since it's a class, I can't return everything in a class. I could return the entire class, but it's too much information. All I want is the data. That's why the structures. Not to mention the fact it's the only way to return it as a type is to have a structure in your deal, so you have to move it into that type. For those that have been around a long time, that is the deepest sign. It's the same as the colon equals colon from Clarion days, so that's the deepest sign, and what it's doing is matching fields and updating those fields with the value. The last thing is we're returning that record structure here back to the system. Now, the way this works, okay, is in the other program. And what happens here is when I come into my procedure for processing a change to a message or something like this, I can go to that area, and let's go here. Okay. Well, we have the deserialized here. That's not what I want. This is what I want. And we go to rec save. Here. And we go to the add web service. Let's go somewhere. Okay, so here's the add, change, and delete functions in my local record, for passing and getting back that information. I declare the object, or basically the web service. So this is the first thing I'm doing is declaring my web service. This is my record structure for the web service, and what that is doing is saying I want the type from the web service. And let's show you that. What we're doing here, we are in group area. It's just the same. So what I'm doing is, let's go to chat room. I'd rather do one-for-one here. In the wrong class anyway.
Andy, what does is2 do?
What does this 2 do? Oh, the 2.
Is2.
That in itself is something that is kind of legacy with PC Soft. I never really got a great answer out of it, other than the fact is that when you drag it out and drop it on there, because you can do that, it will give you that. It will put that 2 in front of it, is what it does. It automatically does that. It's to me, it's kind of like this is pointing to this. I don't know exactly if that's what it's for, but that's the best explanation I can say is that this is now pointing to this is this memory area or this structure.
So is it one of those structures, or is it pointing at something else?
No, it is one of those structures. This right here, I'm declaring this chat room structure, which is this right here. In essence, the chat room rec over here, I'm declaring that, and you can't declare it. You can declare this directly, but it doesn't do you much good. When you get down to the web services themselves, and you look in that chat room, you got a couple of items that you're dealing with here. So you have a chat room and you have a chat room response. That's the two things you get. One is what you send, and one is what you get back. Now, there's a little bit of confusion when it comes to web service, because this got me first when I first started with this. You're calling the chat room here, but you also are sending the chat room here. This is basically, you can see these are the parameters of that call. If you remember on the call to the in the web service themselves, I have got the record here and the action type. That's the two things I've got being passed to the parameters. Well, if you look at this, you can see that it's got the action type and it's got the record structure. So it's telling me now I've got those two items. That's the two items to pass, and then there's all the field within the record structure. So what happens is I have to declare that first. I got the ACT rec is what I'm declaring here, is what I'm doing. Okay? Now, in doing that, that's saying, okay, now everything I apply to the ACT rec is what's going, and I'm cool with that. Then I need to declare the response, so that way whatever I'm getting back, I have something to put it in. Okay? So now I've got the response side, which that side is nothing more than the structure, as you can see. That's all it is the structure. Now, understand I put rep_val in here, which is the return value of what I get back. I put that in the structure for no other reason and I'll show you when we look at this thing. So that way I know whether it was successful or not successful. Okay? The record structure itself is the record structure. It doesn't matter what I do with it. But I want to know whether it's successful, and I'll show you in the web service code what I'm doing to apply to that. Okay, and then I also declare here. Now this is the it actually confused me because I kept hitting F2 on chat room rec, and I never could find it. I'm going, where am I declaring that? Then I realized I'm actually able to declare a type out of the web service. And you're asking me why I need that. When you get back, hang on a second here, guy. My brother-in-law. When I get that back, it is defined as an XML. And I need to move it to a structure. Okay? In moving it to a structure, I need to be able to move it to a structure so I can do the file to memory as that object chat rec is the reason why I do that. Okay? Jim. Unless he's got an emergency. Hang on a minute, guys. Can we put the recording on hold for a second, Arnold? Can you pause the recording for me, please?